Welcome to another episode of Definitely Not Therapy, and I've got a really, really exciting one for you today. Each week on Definitely Not Therapy, I'll be speaking to a different stranger. I'll be talking to real people who have got real stories, an open, honest, vulnerable, unfiltered conversation about life, about mental health, and about the highs, and about how we pick ourselves up, and about the lows, about how we completely fall apart at the seams sometimes. This is Definitely Not Therapy. It's definitely not therapy. In this episode, I'll be talking to Craig, who moved from one end of the country to the other end just to be with his wife. But shortly after, that marriage broke down, and Craig found himself in a town, in a place where he had no support network. His entire support network were linked to his ex-wife's side of the family, her friends. He had no one. And Craig hit depression, he hit anxiety, and he struggled. He really struggled. Craig was in a completely unknown place with no friends, no family, no wife, just emptiness and loneliness. And Craig's anxiety just continued to rise. His depression continued to get worse, and he was just alone with no way out and no one to turn to. He had no support network. Until one day is all it took. Craig mustered up the courage to walk through the doors of Andy's Man Club, and it changed his life. Craig now 7 years on, he's getting married again next year. He's got a 2-year-old son who he openly admits, if it wasn't for Andy's Man Club, his son wouldn't be here today. He immediately went from having no one, nothing, and being the most lonely anyone could be, to having a support network. And that's sometimes all you need. And I've had guests from Andy's Man Club on before, and one of the key things that stands out for me is that they check in with you. So when you turn up to the next meeting, they ask you, how was that thing you did in the middle of the week? They check in. They ask about your week. They remember things that you told them you're going to do. And do you know how important that makes you feel? When you've got no one else, it makes you feel like you're on top of the world. You've got someone that cares about you. And when for a long time you've had no one that cares about you, that's a powerful thing. And Andy's Man Club are incredible. They're doing incredible things. And I love having guests from Andy's Man Club on, because they've all got a completely different story, and they all tell me something completely different about Andy's Man Club and the great things that they do. So I can't wait to talk to Craig. Heartbreaking to be able to hear his story and how low he sunk. But Craig didn't become another statistic like so many men do. Craig's still here today to tell the tale. Craig's still here today to meet a new partner, to get married, and to have had a child. Oh, what's that? You're looking to renovate your home? Well, luckily, this week's episode of Definitely Not Therapy is sponsored by Bell Trades. Need a new kitchen? Or do you need a new bathroom? Bell Trades is the place to go. They're the people to use. They're trusted. They're fully insured. They cover Kent and South East London. Why don't you go and check them out on Instagram? It's at bell__trades. Or go to their website, www.belltrades.co.uk. Quality kitchens, quality bathrooms, quality home renovations. Their mission is to turn your house into a home that you're proud of. And as Bell Trades would say, because home isn't just where you live, it's how you live. And if it is just a niggle at the moment, in the back of your mind, you think, oh, I would like a new kitchen. Dan, now you've said that, oh, I would like a new bathroom that would become the centrepiece of our beautiful home. Contact Bell Trades. They'll come out, they'll give you a quote. What have you got to lose? But thank you, Bell Trades, for sponsoring Definitely Not Therapy. Please tell me you can hear me now.
I can hear you.
Fuck me. Oh, this might be the most... Do you know what? This is just sums up the fucking day I've had as well.
I was just thinking, do I just fuck you about and say, no, I can't hear you? No.
I wouldn't be able to take it if you did that. It would push me over the edge. It would be the final straw for my day.
I'm
Craig.
like, oh, what is it doing? What is it doing? I've got my work laptop. My work laptop kept trying to connect to the VPN. And I thought if I do it on that, I'm going to get a call in the morning to say what you've been doing a podcast.
Oh, God, yeah, you don't want to be doing that.
Phone weren't working.
I think so. Basically,
I need an Andy's Man Club after that.
Yeah, you need a session after that. Sorry about that. I'm here to prevent or to spread awareness that men's mental health, and I'm just causing chaos left, right, and centre. It's definitely not therapy. Welcome, Craig, on to Definitely Not Therapy. Thanks for joining, Craig.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I see you wearing an Andy's Man Club t-shirt. I've had a couple of members from Andy's Man Club on the podcast, and actually it's really refreshing to talk to you guys because everyone has a different story, but it's like this one community where everyone comes together and supports each other. So I'm really interested to hear your story.
Yeah, everyone's got a different background as to why they need it, and then find that common goal.
Well, every episode, when I speak to someone different, the whole sort of purpose is to hear your story. So it's about you, what you've been through, and the whole purpose of it is to kind of hope that someone sat there who might be going through something similar to what you've been through can sit there and think, oh, okay, well, look, do you know what? Craig's doing okay. He's been through this. He's struggled and he's okay. And I think I just want to sort of reach as many people as I can that might just need to hear it.
My story, really. The sort of typical, grew up in a very loving household. Mum and dad split up when I was 8, 9 years old. Mum met a new partner, had more kids, so I got wonderful stepbrother, half brothers and half sisters. And life goes on, and you sort of battle through teenage years, and what you think at the time is normal, and you look back and think none of that was really normal.
Yeah. How did it make you feel when you were sort of 8, 9, and your parents split, and it was all sort of new? What did you go through? Because obviously you're more aware at that age. Like just relating to my situation with Harper, obviously she's only 4, nearly 5. So although they pick up a lot, but you were like 8, 9. So how did that make you feel at that time?
I think at the time, I think it was just, I still didn't really understand it, because I think even though you are a bit older, you sort of immediately go to who's at fault. Is it mum's fault? Is it dad's fault? Rather than it just is one of those things in life. I mean, my mum and dad have been separated 3 times as long as they were together now, so it's like 30 odd years ago. And you sort of look back now, and my own life experience, I just think, you know what, with what I went through later on with my marriage, you just think actually it just wasn't right for them at that time.
Yeah.
And it isn't no one's to blame. My dad took things from it, my mum would have took things from it. They've both moved on in their lives, and ultimately, but at the time it was probably like, well, it's your fault. And I vividly remember at one point saying to my mum, like, I hate you for kicking out my dad. It's like, but looking back, it's like, well, I had no right to think that. That's just the way that life is, that they were together for 9 years and come to a point where being together wasn't the right thing for them. And it happens all over the world every day. But when you're in that bubble, it's kind of difficult to experience that. I mean, my mum's now with a partner, who's been with a partner almost 30 years.
Wow.
And she jokes and says, oh, if I'd done you in, I'd have got away. I'd have been out of jail by now if I'd done you in at the time, because it's like a life sentence. But they love each other, and they've got 4 kids from it, and a grandson, and obviously my little boy is a grandson. So yeah, it's just moving on from that. Obviously went through school, and as I say, you look back and think it's the normal things at the time, but now if it happened in a school now, you'd think like it's not sort of right, like bullying and stuff and kids being kids. But then you sort of work through it, and I think deep down, looking back now, I've just hit 40. I probably did suffer with some form of definitely anxiety, and probably some form of depression when I was a teenager. Wasn't really one of the in kids and one of the cool kids, sort of always one of the ones that was on the outside. Went through life, and obviously moved into work and started enjoying my life, and met my now ex-wife 2011. Moved in together, got married, settled down, and was in a job where it was a very, very stressful job, to the point that I actually broke down in the job, and was told that there was nothing in the job to be stressed over. I thought, well, that's obviously not really what you want to hear.
Well, that's the support you got. The support was basically man up.
And I realise now, and I've heard this quote, I wasn't going to get better in the environment that made me sick.
Powerful.
That wasn't going to happen. So moved from the Midlands down to the southwest for a job. Started that job and moved in with my in-laws. Started the job, and my partner, my ex-wife, was in the process of selling the house, and the whole plan was to move down and start life in the southwest, which is where she was from, and I think we were both in a scenario where we were both looking at, well, we'll be happy when this happens. We'll be happy when we move.
Yeah.
We'll be happy when we have a baby. We'll be happy when we've got a different job.
So it was always something else that had to, you was waiting for something to happen for you to.
Yeah, it's like it's like a destination happiness that we'll be happy at this point. And we weren't happy for a number of reasons, which again, looking back on now, at the time it was like, it's your fault, but actually now it's like, it just wasn't the right thing. So I moved down to Plymouth some early 2018, started the job, got on well. So I worked in a school, so I'd worked in the same role, just in a different school, and started the job, really enjoying it. And over that summer, coming back and forth to the house we were living in, it became apparent that our marriage wasn't going to continue. So I'd already obviously up sticks and moved down and was living with her mum and dad at the time.
Wow.
Which is probably not the best environment to then come home at the end of the weekend and go, by the way, we're not going to be together anymore, but I'll still be living here for a few more weeks, if that's all right.
Oh. How did that happen?
Very supportive.
I was going to say, were they supportive? Were they?
Yeah, they were very supportive, but I guess obviously naturally they're obviously in the middle, that the person's living under their roof, they want to be supportive to their son-in-law, but ultimately it's their daughter that they need to support as well. So we moved down, we sold the house, packed the house up, drove down, put all that stuff in storage. Didn't actually tell my dad, who'd helped us move, that we weren't buying the house we were meant to be buying, and we were actually breaking up. We went along and my dad still moved us down, and we just told him there'd been a delay on the house. Told him obviously later on that it wasn't going through. So then I remember spending what should have been our wedding anniversary looking at flats for me to rent. So going and viewing flats.
Not how you expected to be spending.
No. So I moved out. I moved into my own house, into my own flat, which that was a big change for me as well, because I'll openly admit it now. I'd been quite sheltered. Obviously lived at home till my mid-20s. Moved in with her. Everything in the house she was in was in her name. So then I had to then suddenly sort out council tax and gas and electric and water and TV and that sort of stuff, which I'd never had to sort of manage before. I just sort of earned my money, paid half towards the bills, and that was it. So there was a lot of quick growing up in a sense. I vividly remember sitting in the flat the night I moved in, and it was just like, I think it all hit me then. I was like, what am I doing here? Sort of thing, like, what this isn't what's meant to be happening. We're still going to work.
So I was going to say, this is still down. So you still stayed in Plymouth where you moved to. You stayed in that area because of the job. Because ultimately, you said in the research notes that you sent, you kind of had no support network down there because everyone in that area was linked to your ex-wife. Yeah. So you stayed for the job, I presume.
Yeah, so what I told the sort of job later on was that if I hadn't liked the job, I would have just told them over the summer, by the way, I'm going back home. And I would have just packed my car and I would just move back to Birmingham and just sorted something out when I got back. The thing that kept me there was the job, and I really enjoyed it and got on really well with the people there. And the interesting thing was that, similarly, like a lot of men who have been in my situation and have been to an Andy's Man Club, I was wearing a mask through the week. So I would go to work, I would have a mask on that, yeah, I'm good, I'm happy, I'm laughing, I'm joking with people. The minute I walked out the door and got in my car and drove home, the mask would come off and I'd just be miserable, absolutely miserable. And I kept that up for quite a while. I vividly remember, and I'll come on to the Andy's Man Club bit, but I vividly remember sitting in my office on the first day back in September, which was a training day. Luckily, all the staff were there and doing their training in the hall. My job was support staff, so I was just left to get on with preparing for the new year. And sat in my office in tears, thinking, please, I hope no one comes in my office. Because even if I've stopped crying for a minute, they're going to see that I'm upset and they're going to ask me what's wrong, and then that's going to be opening it up. I think that was pretty much like the day after everything had gone sideways officially.
Wow.
So as I say, people know that now, that I wasn't in a very good place at the time. But like a lot of men, I just sort of the old man up and sort of went to work and put on a show while I was there, and slowly but surely inside I was sort of crumbling. There's a couple of pictures. I've done a presentation recently on Andy's Man Club, and there's 2 pictures that I showed in the presentation, both of me, and both pictures, from looking at them, I'm smiling in both pictures. I look happy in both pictures, and they're like opposite ends of the spectrum. One is a few weeks after breakdown, and the other one is first family holiday with my little boy. And you wouldn't know from the pictures.
Really? So you're both smiling in both, but actually one of them you're just putting on that mask, pretending.
Yeah.
I think what sort of resonates with me, what you say there, it's the kind of, the longer it goes on, the more time, it's like the better you get at pretending.
Yeah.
But also it's like I don't know what the analogy is, but it's like a two-way road. It's like you're getting better at pretending, but alongside that is this build-up of pressure. The more it goes on, and that at some point has to go somewhere, and that can come. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, everyone suffers differently, and I think you've said it there about, you're a man. You're just expected to not talk about your feelings, and not. You just get on with it. You just man up, and that's the kind of generation I've come from. So it's really difficult for me to kind of really go against how I was. Not that I was brought up to not, but when you're a kid, you're like, just get up and get on with it. So that's what it is.
I grew up in the 90s, mid to late 90s, which was the sort of men behaving badly era, where you had to be strong and you had to sort of show. But I think you are right. I mean, I sit in a room on a Monday night with some of the finest actors in the UK, guys that for 160 odd hours of the week pretend everything's perfect, everything's all spot on. And the minute they walk into a room with us, it's mask off, tears flow, laughter. They still have laughter, but having that ability to come and talk, and it's just wonderful. But yeah, so I was in a situation there, I say, in my office in tears, and I was thinking, please do not let anyone walk in. I don't want to have this conversation today. And I happened to, I mean, I'd followed Andy's Man Club for a few years. I knew about them back when they started out, and sort of very small. And I'd been in contact with Luke, who set the charity up. And at the time, living in Birmingham, there wasn't a Andy's Man Club there. So I did all the NHS CBT, therapy, counselling, that sort of stuff, to sort of get over the stress in the job that I had before the marriage breakdown, which worked to a point, and obviously got me into a slightly better place. But there was still that bubbling under, and I think you are right, where things bubble under the surface, and it's not always the issue that causes the blow up. It can be something really small that just tips you over the edge. It could just be someone parks in your parking space, and that's the thing that tips you over the edge and makes you lose it. But yes, well, I found Andy's that they were actually setting the first group in Devon up at the time, and it was opening that night. So I was like, oh, that's quite good timing. And I don't even remember now, 7 years later, the thought process of thinking I'm going to go, because I've sat in room and been talking to guys who have come for 3 or 4 weeks, sat in the car park, or come to the door and turned around and gone home. And I just didn't do that. I was just like, right, I'm at the point where I need something to come and sort of help me. So I drove there that night, probably a 40-minute drive from where I was at home. Don't remember that drive. Don't remember the drive home. Just looking back now. Remember the night that I was there, so I sort of walked up and again didn't really know what to expect about it. Walked up to the door and was met by a 6'5" giant who now is one of my best friends, who just went, "You looking for Andy's?" "Yep, come on in, sit down." And sat there, didn't know anyone, just sort of waited to 7 o'clock. And the ball came around the room, because we have a sort of talking ball at Andy's. The ball came to me, and the first question is, "How's your week been?" And I was thinking, "Oh, please, that's..." And I managed to get out 4 words, which was, "My marriage ended yesterday."
Oh,
And burst into tears. And in that moment, I expected, from growing up in the 90s, the sort of lad culture, I expected laughs, "What are you crying for? Man up," that sort of response. And I was met with silence, absolute silence in the room. Probably about 30 guys in the room that night. And I vividly remember a hand on my shoulder. Don't know this bloke from Adam, just met him 10 minutes before, and just said, "It's all right, mate, let it all out. Let it out. We're all here for you." And let's say, don't remember going back.
wow.
Went the next week, become a habit. The guys there actually said, in the 5 or 6 years they've run the group there, that they didn't expect to see me the following week. Not because they didn't think I would come to Andy's the following week. They didn't think I'd be here the following week. They said they'd not seen anyone as low as I was that night in that time. And they often use me as an example. Quite, like, I sit there and go, "Oh, like, don't use me as the example," but they use it as the example of this is what Andy's Man Club can do. Continued to go every week, turned up, shared a bit more. Some weeks I didn't share at all. Things would go on and absolutely fine. And then got asked 6 months or so later, "Look, we're looking at setting one up in Plymouth. Like, you're in a seemingly better place now. Is that something that you'd be happy to support getting set up?" And I said, "Yeah." And then here I am, approaching 6 years from there, still running the groups and still overseeing them and still going every week to get stuff off my chest.
I mean, that's an incredible story to come from where you were, that low point, to you're now 6 years on, and so much has changed for you. Would you say so? You must have been that low, because it's hard to talk to men. And although you knew about Andy's Man Club, from your point of view, they were still strangers, and you walked through that door and you were still able to be that vulnerable in front of all of those people, which, I mean, hats off to you, because I know that they're very welcoming, very supporting, but for the first time, and you hadn't had this like back and forth of, because I know a lot of men do, they sit outside and they go away, they sit outside, they go away, and they eventually do it. And then, because I had a guy called Alan from the Edinburgh club recently, and he was like, a lot of people do that. They tell you they do that. And then when they eventually come in, they might not talk for 2 or 3 weeks, because they're just not, they just want to be a man, to open up in front of even one man is hard, let alone a group. So you must have either been really brave and used every single ounce of courage in your body in that moment, or you just must have known if you didn't do something about it, you weren't going to be here next week.
Yeah, I think it was, I'd like to think it was more I think it's probably a combination.
It's definitely not therapy.
I mean, I vividly remember driving home. I don't know if you've driven in the southwest.
A little bit.
There's the bridge at Bristol, which goes over the big sort of, it's quite a big bridge coming down to the southwest. And I vividly remember driving home one weekend on that bridge, like 4 lanes either side. It's quite a big bridge. And the thought went through my head, like, what would happen if I just like turned the wheel now?
Wow.
And I didn't, because obviously, but I think also part of me was thinking, if I do that and it goes wrong and I'm paralyzed, for example, that then is going to be worse for my family than if it goes what I deem to be right at the time, if it goes through. and there was just that a few seconds thought, and nothing obviously came of it. But and I think we have to get into a position where we accept that those sort of momentary thoughts are normal.
Yeah,
like you do sort of think that, and it's sort of an ideation of, oh, I wonder what would happen if I did this, or I wonder how I wonder what would go on. Not actually acting on it, but just that momentary thought. But yes, they still continue to sort of go to Andy's, and I think I've missed maybe 10 groups in 6 years. I don't miss group very often. Even when my son was born, I was like itching to still go, even when he was in the hospital, itching to still go to club and get stuff off my chest. And obviously, I had to be there for my partner and my little boy. And I do definitely feel when if there's a week where I do have to miss it for whatever reason, I do sort of feel worse for it in a way.
Well, they've become your support network, haven't they? That's
For me, it's like a weekly MOT, and I think a lot of guys call it that, like a weekly brain MOT of what's going on this week, what can I share, what can I talk about, and what needs to be parked for a few weeks' time. Yeah, it's a powerful movement just from one tragedy which started it all, has sort of come to a point now where we're sort of helping guys each week, and yeah, I don't know where I'd be without it.
I mean, everyone I've spoken to that's gone to Andy's Man Club has basically said the same thing. They don't know where they would be. And something that I picked up on that you said there was the fact that you call it a weekly MOT, and there's sometimes where you think you really need it, even though, like, when your son was being born or whatever, but actually you need it to be able to be the best version of yourself for your little boy, for your partner. And I think that's something that I was told a lot, because I just put myself bottom of the pile. I was just getting by for my little girl and doing whatever I needed to. So I was kind of, every ounce of energy was going on my little girl. But it's like I've got to a point now where I didn't go to Andy's Man Club, and I just felt like I just wasn't confident enough because I put myself out there online, and that moment that you had where you sat there in front of 30 people, I had that by filming it on my phone, and it was just me, it was just my phone. But then I posted it, and this was the same as yours. Yours was the day after your marriage ended. I think mine was in the evening or the early hours of the morning or the following day, but it was within that time frame. It's the same thing, and I ended up posting that online, and it was probably not as supportive as what you got. It was as supportive in some aspects, because it's like one of these things. It got millions of views. For some reason, the national news picked it up. Like, we're just TikTokers, and it's in the newspaper. Like, what is going on in the world for that to make the news? But then that come with a whole host of more people wanting to watch. It's like watching a car crash, and people like wanted to tune in and watch. And it's come with some amazing support. And I've now made some of my best friends in life through them seeing how much I was struggling and reaching out and wanting to be there for me. But obviously, being part of posting it online comes with the negative side of it. And that's really why I want to kind of spread awareness, because it is hard to talk. And you put yourself in that situation, and you were brave enough to walk through the door and tell your story. And that's a great way to do it. I think I wouldn't advise anyone to post it online and show the world. Like, I would not recommend anyone do that. And I certainly don't want to be an advocate for someone posting every single feeling that you have online. But I just think for me, that's a good way to spread awareness. It's a good way to show you can be real because the internet's everything's fake. Everything is fake. It's all just for entertainment purposes. But you must be really proud that you can sit there now, and although you might think, oh, don't use me as the example, like, you must sit there and think, I'm actually really proud of yourself that you can sit there and they can tell that story of you, and it's a positive story rather than one of, we lost Craig. Craig, he come to
Yeah,
one
definitely.
session, we lost him. Like that's a heartbreaking.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, I sort of go on a Monday really early. I finish work and head down there and set the chairs out, set the layout of the room, and get all the stuff ready. And that's still my way of giving back. And obviously, I lead the groups and support the lead facilitators with the groups. And there'll obviously be weeks where I'm not in that position. I just want to share. And not only did it save my life, and I'll hold my hands up and say that, but it also, my boy wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for Andy's Man Club, because I wouldn't be here, so he wouldn't be here. So I have to be the best version of me for him.
Yeah.
And I want to be in a position where he can talk to me about anything growing up. And someone who's quite close to the charity was asked what they wanted to do when they grow up, and they said, I'd want to work for Andy's Man Club. And then they said, actually, no, I don't want to work for Andy's Man Club, because I don't want there to be an Andy's Man Club when I grow up, because I want it to all be normal. I don't want for there to be any need for Andy's Man Club. But obviously, while we are needed, we'll still open our doors every week, and we'll still have guys. I mean, when I started, I think Plymouth was group 20 when we started up, and we've now just recently opened group 300.
Wow.
In 7 years, in six, 7 years.
Wow. And
fast approaching 6,000 men a week attending an Andy's Man Club.
I mean, that's a massive change. That's a huge change from what it was. And just even if it's 6,000 men a week, that's 6,000 men a week that you could be saving their lives.
Yeah, definitely. 6,000 men that are going home to their families. The 6,000 families that are getting their guy coming home every week. But whether it's one man or 6,000, I'd say we'll still continue to beat the drum and still offer that support each week. But yeah, it's an organisation that is such a simple reason behind it and such a simple process. But obviously, it's showing that it is okay to talk and sort of talk about things that are going on and or just come along and listen to it for a few weeks and find yourself in a space where you then can share. And it's not for everyone, and we acknowledge that. Some guys will come along and they'll give it a try and they'll go and try something else and absolutely fine. But there's guys who still now, I met week 1 or week 2 in Plymouth 2019 that still come along now.
Yeah.
6 years later. So it's wonderful. I mean, there's one guy who's recently come along, and he is the epitome that he started out very, very anxious, wouldn't talk to anyone, and now has just been on holiday with 3 of the guys from club.
Oh, really?
Goes out most weekends, and now it's like, we sort of make a joke that now social anxiety is scared of him. Because he's such a massive turnaround, and he's just one of the many examples, and every guy that supports the club in terms of facilitating are guys that have been a guy using the club to begin with. So it's that organic support.
They can really relate.
I started out that way. Everyone else started out that way. And being peer to peer, it's great that there's no sort of professional there. That's going to sort of say that you should do this, you should do that. It's, well, actually, this worked for me. Why don't you give that a try? Or that didn't work for me. So if you want to try it, great. But it didn't work for me. And it's 2 hours on a Monday night, but the sort of benefit you get from that and the sort of feeling you get I mean, there are some Mondays where I come home and I struggle to get to sleep, and that's in a good way, because my brain's sort of fizzing and thinking, oh, that person's in a good place, and I wonder what that person will be like next week, and hopefully they're all right. And yeah, it's just,
well, it must be a roller coaster. It must be a roller coaster, mustn't it? Because you're now in a situation where you're gonna have people that were like you, Craig, and they'll come in, and it might be their first week or their 3rd or 4th week, and they start opening up, and you might have that thought, are they going to make it? Are they going to make it back next week? And I appreciate not everyone is maybe at that low point. I think, and obviously I don't know, but I would assume that most of the men that are at that low point are of our kind of age range, because we're of that era where we haven't spoken, we don't talk about it, we bottle it up. Whereas our age range and older potentially, they're the ones that you might look at and think, are they going to come back next week? And then in the same group, you might have people that were at that stage that have come back, and you're like, they're doing amazing. It's incredible. So it must just be a constant roller coaster.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, thankfully we have a bit of a sort of facilitators have a bit of a catch up at the end, so we can sort of get anything out that needs addressing.
It's definitely not therapy.
People will ask me now, like, why do you still go? Like, you're in a good place, or what they deem to be a good place, and it's because of I need to keep being in that good place, but also I need to make sure the other guys are in that good place as well.
So you're sort of 50% for yourself, 50% to help others.
Yeah, I mean that, and obviously that can change. Obviously, recently my dad passed away, so that was obviously a point where I was still going along to facilitate or support the facilitator, but then for those few weeks, I needed to get more stuff off my chest about that, about the funeral, about my relationship with my brother, and that sort of stuff. But that's gone, and that still hasn't hit me yet, which I'm not surprised at, but I'm still like, it's going to hit me at some point. It's going to come at me like a bullet train at some point. And maybe it's because I'd sort of prepared myself a little bit, being 3 hours down the road, that at some point that would happen.
Yeah.
Not necessarily as quickly as it did. Maybe I'd sort of mentally prepared myself in a way, and so there'll be some point in the future where it does hit me. But I know I've got the sort of guys at Andy's to support.
Yeah.
And the few little bits recently have been like car accident, son got chicken pox. Those little things that sort of little bumps in the road that you need that bit of, right, this happened this week, and that all happened in the space of about 6 weeks. So clearly I've annoyed someone over the last few weeks to have father passing away, car accident, chicken pox, and then my hire car got reversed into.
Oh God,
in Birmingham. Yeah, so
I've had it all happen.
It's definitely not therapy.
If someone wanted to come along to an Andy's Man Club, what is the best thing to do? Is it to go to the website and just find out the locations?
Yes, there is a group finder on the website, so you can put in your postcode and it'll tell you your nearest club. Usually you can sort of change it within like 10 miles, 20 miles.
It seems like it's really there for the right reasons, and it's been born from obviously a tragedy, but from that tragedy has come from saving so many men's lives. And I think that,
and the absolute hardest thing to do is that first week walk through the door.
Yeah,
it's the hardest 10 seconds that you'll face. But once you do it, and what I like to say is, if you give it a try and it doesn't work for you, you've lost 2 hours on a Monday night.
Yeah.
And you found it doesn't work for you, and you'll find something else that does work for you. But if it does work for you, you might just find something that's gonna help you going forward, and you'll find a group of guys that have all been there. Maybe not the same situation, but have all been in similar situations and have come through the other side. And say my situation, I've now got a little boy who's 2 years old who lights up every room that he walks into, and even when he's a pain in the backside at 3 a.m. when he's awake, it's what my role now in life is, to be the best dad that I can be for him. But ultimately that comes from being the best version of me. And
the best feeling in the world, though, isn't it, being a dad?
It is the best feeling in the world, absolutely.
I think someone said to me recently, it was like, men don't show their emotions, they don't show their heart, but then you give them, they have a child and it's there, their heart's there, it's out in the world for everyone to see. That's what they mean to us, isn't it? It's everything. And I remember, I mean, wasn't a health, Harper had some health issues when she was first born, but I won't go into that. But I just remember when she was born, we were first time parents, and like she was born, and then the following day they were like, right, off you go then. And it was like, do we not just stay here for a few weeks? And then like, no, off you go. And you've just got this life that you've got to protect. And there's no rule book, there's no handbook. It's just off you go. It's like, it was just such a surreal experience. And it feels like,
yeah, we had the same thing. So he was in the NICU for 2.5 weeks. so we had that support with the staff there. But yeah, like the day he came home, we were really excited, and then it was like, actually the day he came home was my birthday.
Oh,
Like perfect timing of coming home on my birthday.
best present.
But then it was still like what do we do? Like what do we do now? Like we've had the nurses around us for like 2 weeks, showing us what to do, and now we've got to do it all. But
That's even worse, I guess. Because you
he's just had chicken pox. That's the next.
It was even worse for you because you had the nurses around him for 2 weeks, so you sort of knew he was like, although well, but not well. But he was in the best possible place he could be. Whereas, I guess then being right off you go, then that must have been really scary.
Yeah, I mean they were quite good because they would sort of do the stuff, but then do it with us to sort of show us like, right, this is what you need to do, and it wasn't like go and sit there for 2 weeks and we'll look after him. So, but yeah, it was still quite terrifying to bring him home, and now sort of every day's a school day.
Yeah,
my dad, and he's just had chicken pox, and just get over that, and you're like, what? Like, where's that rash come from? And he's just bumped his leg and he bumped his head, and you're like, oh my god, like what is going on? And he's at nursery now, thankfully, and he's causing trouble there, and he's fine, but. Yeah, it's just.
Well, it doesn't stop.
He's just going through a little bit of a sleep regression at the minute. So usually he goes to sleep quite quick. And the last few weeks, it's been like an hour to get him down. And I can just hear him a minute ago, sort of screaming, and it's like, oh. So it's just, yeah. But we'll get through it, and he's just a bundle of energy, and
yeah.
But I couldn't think now my life without him being in it, and. Yeah, it's wonderful, but ultimately, as I say, that wouldn't be the case without Andy's without that support and being able to go along and say, you know what, I'm not okay, and I need help. And as I said earlier, I look back now, and for quite a while I was sort of quite resentful of my ex and said that, well, it was my fault, it was your fault, and now I'm just like, you know what, like that's not. I can still hold on to that, easily still hold on to that, but actually it's not going to do me any good. It's not going to be any positive energy for me. I wish her well in her life, and I'll always. Somebody asked me this a while back, and maybe a year or two after we split up, and they sort of mentioned it off cuff, and I was like, yeah, I still have love for her because we were married, and I still want her to be happy, and I'll always have love for her, but I obviously don't love her, but I have love for her, and want her to be the sort of best version she can be for her and her family. And yeah, I'm just in a place now where I just don't hold on to anything like that. And if it ain't going to matter in 5-10 years, like what's the point of holding on to it and then eat away at you? Because I've seen that happen. I mean, my dad, bless him, as I say, he held on to a lot of that stuff for a lot of years, and looking back now, I can sort of see what effect that had on him, and it wasn't a good effect, and I don't think it is a good effect, but ultimately, life is what it is.
Well, that's it. But I could certainly take some of that advice, Craig, if I'm honest. But that's a whole other podcast. But look, I really, really appreciate you telling me your story and sharing your time. Especially, I know it's taken up quite a lot of your time this evening, and yeah, so I appreciate you sticking around for it. Before we sort of wrap up, I always like to finish, because some of these podcasts can get quite heavy, because we're talking about, you know, men at their, or people at their lowest, their worst moments, and I like to end on something a bit more positive. So I don't know if you've got, or if you can tell me something just really positive, or really something that really made you laugh in the last couple of weeks, or if you've got your best joke that you tell it, you know, when you're with your mates or whatever, just something that's a bit more lighter that we can end the episode on.
Yeah, so I got a couple. My nephew, who obviously my sister's little boy, he was born 2014. Yeah, not long after we got married, and actually he was born. And you sort of hear this in the news, and you hear this in the papers, and you think, how is that possible? My sister didn't realise she was pregnant until she was giving birth to him.
What?
Yeah.
I can't even understand how that's possible.
I think she probably knew, but I think she probably just denied that it was happening.
It's definitely not therapy.
So he was born. He has educational needs, so he's autistic. Lovely little boy. So when I phone him and sort of FaceTime my stepfather, you try and speak to him on the phone. It's like, no, I'm on my tablet or I'm watching the telly on something else. Doesn't want to know. I turned up a couple of weeks ago to visit my family when I was up for my dad's funeral. Walked in the door. He come down the stairs, and the first thing he said was, "Oh, good to see you, mate." Come over, give me a hug. It's like, you don't ever speak to me on the phone. You don't want to speak to me. You don't want to speak to you're in your bubble, and yet that's the first thing you come up to me is give me a hug and say, "Good to see you, mate."
That's incredible.
Yeah, so it's like, and even my stepdad was like, "That's amazing that he's just done that off the cuff." But yeah, it's just
What a moment.
He again is a little bundle of joy.
So thank you so much for coming on and talking about it. Thanks for telling your story. And yeah, stay in touch, Craig, and hopefully we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you for joining, Craig. That's it for this episode of Definitely Not Therapy. And if you cried, laughed, smiled, or just felt slightly uncomfortable, then we've done our job. Make sure to follow, subscribe, leave a review if you can, and perhaps share this with someone who feels alone right now, because that might make them just feel less alone. There's someone else going through the same thing as them. Whatever your story might be, whether it's co-parenting issues, divorce, breakups, heartbreak, anything that goes unspoken, things that you feel like you can't talk about, come and talk to me about them. Let's help to spread some awareness. All you need to do is email me at onlydanlawrence@gmail.com or DM me on any of my social media platforms. Dan Lawrence on Facebook, Dan Lawrence Comedy on Instagram, or Definitely Not Therapy Pod on Instagram. I'm Dan Lawrence, and I'll see you next time.